Ladies, good morning, and good morning to you. Are you hearing me? Okay, let's see if you could work out those technical bugs. Yes. Okay. I don't think she's coming across the air. Okay, we'll get it sorted out, folks. But just to let you know, it's from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, and it's the National Family Services Division. Hello? Are you hearing? Yes, we are hearing you loud and clear. Loud and clear. Good. All right. Okay. So we're chatting with the folks from the National Family Services Division. Is it that? And we have Sabrina Maula Bash and Idris Gabriel. Did I pronounce your names correctly, ladies? Edris. Edris Gabriel. Okay. All right. So good morning to you. And how are you today? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Now that we've gotten all this cleared up and we could communicate here, I'm good now. Okay, so all right, over to you ladies. I want you to introduce what you're going to talk about today. Tell the folks we're all ears, we're listening. Trinidad and Tobago and beyond is listening to you right now. Go right ahead. Wonderful.
Partner violence is physical, sexual, or psychological violence that occurs within a marriage or even a common law relationship, or even just dating. Have an intimate relationship with someone. Violence can occur in such situations. The type of violence that you usually will find can be abuse in different forms. And sometimes that abuse, it can start with verbal abuse, for example, and that can get out of hand where it becomes physical violence. And that can escalate and become so serious where someone can even lose their life as a result. And then you have children or child abuse and neglect. Now, I guess the listener will want to find out, what are you talking about when you talk about child abuse or neglect? Child abuse can be any physical, sexual, verbal, and emotional abuse suffered by a child. Also, what I would like to point out is that if a child is being neglected by a family or guardian, for example, not being provided food, not where you have the child rights being violated by the person who cares for that child. For example, neglect in education or even nutrition, for example, starvation of a child or starvation of the emotional needs of that child, that is also a form of child abuse or neglect. And then one that I'm sure that most people are familiar with is elder abuse. Elder abuse occurs when there is any action, behavior, or failure to act by a person in a position or trust like in an adult child, could it be a family member, friend, or caregiver who is caring for that elderly person. If that person, for example, harm that elderly person, it can also include emotional abuse as well, or even financial abuse. And you hear many times of situations where an elderly person is collecting a pension, and the person who's caring for that person is really utilizing that pension for his or herself, and that the elderly person is not even given that money. That is a form of elderly abuse. And sometimes the person who is even caring for that elderly person can also physically or verbally harm that elderly person. And that is what we are referring to when we speak of elderly abuse. All right, I think sibling abuse is something that speaks for itself when siblings within that household are having disputes, and that dispute can escalate and to the point where we even have to call in the police because the siblings are not getting along. That falls under the category of family violence. All right, and then another one that again this is also very much in the news is abuse against persons with disabilities. Now that's a very serious one, as well as all others. But this one I can say that sometimes when you hear the situations about persons with disability being abused, it really get to the heart of many people. That is, for example, when a member or person in a position of trust who is caring for that person with disability also use physical, emotional, sometimes verbal, and even financial abuse towards that person. As I already explained what financial abuse is and emotional abuse is. When that happens to a person with disabilities, that falls under the category of family violence. Right, so I hope that this is clear to the listeners out there when we speak of family violence, what it really entails.
Wonderful. Let me just ask a question though before you come back in. Now you said all these fall under family abuse, but there's some of these the abuse that you talked about that is outside of the family. For example, you may have elderly abuse where someone is in a home and nursing home, that sort of thing, where they're taken advantage of, or children in a home. We've been hearing a lot about that lately, about the various homes and the abuse of children. Do those two fall under family abuse as well, or
When it happens within the household, where there's a family unit, and this type of violence is happening within the home, then it falls under the category of family violence.
Oh, I see. So those two are not included.
Yes, that will be another form of abuse, but in a different situation.
I see. Okay, wonderful. So let's continue.
I just wanted to add, if I can, and so we've got the definition and of the what is family violence, what is domestic violence, and the different forms it can take. And very often, the question is asked, and I always seek to address it, and that is why? Why does this happening? Why does this happen? Why are we seeing, or why do we experience this kind of violence within the confines of the household, which is supposed to be the safest place for any person in a family situation, often perpetrated by loved ones? So we always have to examine, why does this happen? And so I always try to help persons to understand the complexity of this thing. Why do we use violence, and many times for victims and survivors, it happens by someone that they love, a partner who professes to love, and so on. But family violence and violence between partners, or even among persons in the household, it's about a pattern of behavior for the only purpose of exercising power and control. It's not about love, but it's about the perpetrator utilizing violence to exercise power and control, either against an intimate partner, a child, a sibling, etc., anybody in the household. So I think it's very important for us to understand that, and for us to understand as well why it is a pandemic situation in this country. A 2018 survey showed that 1 in every 3 women in Trinidad and Tobago have disclosed and reported that they've experienced intimate partner violence, at least one form of intimate partner violence in their lifetime. As well, 1 in every 3 women remain silent about experiencing violence. And that's a very telling figure. As well, when we look at the figures throughout the years, we know that, and I'm speaking from predominantly in Trinidad and Tobago, women experience more violence. Over where I work and where I'm the general manager of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, over 80% of our clients are women reporting situations of violence and receiving support from our organization. And so in every given year, an average of 25 women are murdered or killed as a result of domestic violence. That's very staggering. In 2017, out of 53 women killed, 43 were said to be as a result of domestic violence. And as well, the way that these women are killed, it's very horrible deaths. They're shot to death, chopped to death, strangled to death, so that it's very personal. So that we have experienced, and we continue to experience critical and high levels of family violence in this country. Just to say as well that men do experience domestic violence and family violence. Their levels of reporting, it's much lower because of all kinds of stigmas attached. So I want to share with the general public, because people always say that men do experience DV, and yes, they do. But of course, it comes as a result of a particular ideology, an ideology which says that there is supposed to be a certain order or a structure within a household, and that order predominantly, whether we do have single parent families in which females and males are the head of the household, but of course we project the nuclear family and the extended family as the ideal family unit, informed by a belief system which says that predominantly the male is supposed to be the head of the household, and the male is supposed to protect the family and take care of the family and so on, and that there are certain roles for women and other family members, and that there are certain roles for men. And also based on a thinking that privileges men, within the family unit. And to add to that, of course, is the concept that we can only discipline through violence, and we can only keep a situation under control and exercise control within that unit through violence. So I just wanted to share those initial thoughts around, why do we have these high numbers of family violence, and why it has reached, and it is an epidemic in this country, not only here, but around the world.
Thank you. Can I jump in here and just ask a question before we continue?
Yes, go ahead. You go ahead. Yes.
It was just said that, there's a stigma with regards to men reporting violence. But I want to also ask, with women reporting violence, are women really taken seriously? And I ask that because people, the perpetrators of violence, do things because they know they can get away with it. As you said, it's for control. And if I know I can abuse you and I can get away with it, I will continue to abuse you if I'm an abuser. But if I know that, listen, if this thing, excuse me, if this thing is reported, chances are that, I could be held, I could be incarcerated. Is it that, excuse me, is it that, again, because I've heard it said in the past, where women would have reported certain things and they would have been told, not many, but they would have been told, listen, that's your man, that's your, why are you coming to report him, that kind of thing. And so is it that women are still not taken seriously when they report these incidences of violence, so that they feel when they go there, like the men don't go because of that stigma, but maybe women, when they go to report as well, maybe they're not given the kind of attention that they want, that they really need, or they're not given the kind of empathy, so that people would understand what they're going through and what they have to put up with. Is it that, or do you think that in this country that we really do take domestic violence against women seriously? And
my response to that is,
go ahead,
Ms. Gabriel, you can go and then I can share my thoughts after you're done.
okay, yes, because I just want to speak from the perspective as from the National Family Services Division where I am employed. There have been some improvement. I think it's fair to say there have been some improvement, but there's still a lot of work to be done, because we do deal with really on I don't think it's an exaggeration to say on a daily basis we do have violence. You have to make report to it, and there may be odd occasion where you say, why? So I think there's a lot of sensitization that is happening in different quarters, but again, work to be done. And there are organizations, there are NGOs who are very much involved in assisting women who are victims of domestic violence. So I think it would be incorrect for me to say, no, this is really, really bad, nothing is being done. That will not be true. But I think it's fair to say there's still a lot of work needs to be done in order really and truly to make some inroads in domestic violence. That's my take on it.
Okay, and if I can respond to your question, I would say that there are many reasons why women do not disclose situations of violence. And in my comments earlier, I said that 1 in every 3 women do not disclose, and there are all kinds of reasons for women not disclosing. Some women may not even know that what they're experiencing constitutes domestic violence or family violence. They may be they think it's normal. So when we talk about the normalization of the violence, this is what we mean. So that because I've seen this as I grew up in my community, in my family, and so on, I consider it to be normal behavior, and I do not understand it to be something that's against the law. That's the first thing. So some women may not understand, that they're experiencing abuse. For some women, of course, there's the issue of economic dependence. So I'm not able to take care of myself. I depend on the perpetrator, and because of the power and control and the wheel of power and control, that's what the perpetrator does. Ensures that the victim is dependent in all kinds of ways on the perpetrator. So the perpetrator has no support systems. The victim has no support systems, social networks, is not economically and financially dependent, etc., so that the victim / survivor feels that if I threaten this, I threaten my livelihood and that of my children. of course, the role of religion and religious beliefs. If I disclose to my pastor, my pundit, my imam, if I disclose to my, to my to anybody, and I go for counseling, they may tell me to suck it in and stay because that entity does not like divorce. That entity wants for marriages and families to stay together. So religious beliefs. Then there's also the situation of being embarrassed to disclose because the family may have a particular social standing, they may have influential persons within their family. So if I do that, I'll embarrass my family. So I stay. I do not disclose. And then you also have when they choose to disclose. So for example, if the victims get to a point where, listen, I really need to get some help, the responders, they do not treat with it in the way that they should. So, for example, we have persons coming to our organization who say that when they go to the police officers, they are not taken seriously. They're told, go and make up with your partner. You need to do certain things. If men go, they're laughed at, etc., etc. So even if you go to the health system and the health sector and you disclose, even how you disclose it, there's no private area. You down and tell your story in front of you. Go to make a report, you have to say it in front of other people who are there when you're making the report. So the persons who are receiving, they do not provide a safe environment and a conducive environment for women who are disclosing. So it's multiple reasons why women are not disclosing in the way that they should and that they ought to. And as my colleague said, we have a long ways. We are improving, with the introduction of the gender-based violence unit and with units happening all over the police station and with the constant training of police officers and health workers and other first responders. We are improving, but I can safely say that we really have a lot more work to do because you do not only interface with police officers, you interface with, if you go to the public sector, you interface with administrative people. And even when you go to them, for example, if someone goes to take out a protection order, you will meet with a public servant. If that public servant does not provide the safe environment and the environment that encourages you, you will be turned off. You may be inclined to kind of just stop the process. And I can tell you, to take that first step, that's a courageous step. Many victims do not take that first step. And to even make a decision to take that first step, to encounter a hostile or an unresponsive environment, that's not the ideal. So I know that I've kind of given a mouthful, but this situation is a very complex situation. And I guess that is why we continue to experience it even today. And, we can't seem to make a dent into dealing with it.
Now, I know we're almost out of time, but I want to ask, because we've talked about all the challenges, what kind of comfort can we give to people who are experiencing domestic violence? What can we say to them now?
What I always say to my clients, speak out and seek help. And this is why we have programs, and what we are doing here is also a sensitization of the public, letting the public know the work that we are doing from our side. So that, and I'm sure that for the people who are even listening, there may be people who are listening who are victims of family violence, and that they know that there is help. Help is out there, and it's for them to build the courage to come out and seek the help. This is why we have these programs. All right, and I just want to come back, and I know we are almost out of time, but this is about family violence. And this is about what is happening in the household. A breakdown in families, there's a lot, and this is what we have to focus on. All right, it's about not just the husband and wife or the father, the mother in that household, is total dysfunctional household that where family violence in its different form occurs. And therefore, family needs help. And this is why here at National Fund, because this is what we are about, assisting families. And I don't want us to lose focus of that. We know that the reason that this division is in existence because we know there are families out there who have problems, and our purpose is to assist. All right, I want to make that very clear. And what we do here also, even if we realize that we can't do it on our own, we refer to our stakeholders because we know this is something that we can't do alone. We have to have stakeholders. We have to come together to assist families. And this is why National Family Services also have its parenting units. This is an annual program that we have, an annual workshop assisting different members of the family. We also have a family workshops for even for grandparents, because we also know that grandparents also are the one who assist in raising children, and they need help also. We have workshops for men, because we know men have problems within the household, the husbands, and they need help as well. And for co-parenting, because that's a big issue among families, co-parenting. How do you do that? Because there is no manual when you start a family, say this is the guideline. So we are out here to help families, and the whole purpose is to have healthy, functioning families. If we don't have that, because there is no manual to help that, this nation have a problem.
And if I can maybe share, as well, and what I would say to folks out there, and you're not alone. Many people experience family violence and domestic violence, and we know that families are under pressure. It's not easy for families, in these times. People have to, experiencing difficulty with obtaining jobs, with generating income, sustaining their families, and that kind of thing. So we know that the family unit, they're experiencing tremendous challenges. And what I will say to those people, anyone who may be experiencing challenges, is that we may not have perfect systems throughout the country, but we do have entities, whether it's the government sector like the National Family Services, or my organization, the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and we do offer services. So reach out to us. And we want to encourage you to take that step to reach out. All our services are free here. We offer free psychosocial support, free legal consultations, and we're just a phone call away, 624-0402. Call us, we are here, and we're here to support you.
Ladies.
If I can quickly just mention also, because the public needs to know how they can contact us. National Family Services has, apart from our head office in Portsmouth that is on Cedric Street, we also have 7 other service centers, as we call them, in different parts of the country: in Penal, Point Fortin, San Fernando, Telapuna, Arima, Rio Claro, Couva, and Chaguanas. And so in order to get in contact with any one of our offices, what we ask is to call the head office. Our head office, the number of our head office is, the PDX number is 623-2608, and the extension is 670, connecting to the relevant service center to assist you with the help that you need.
Ladies, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing with us, Edris Gabriel and Sabrina Bash. Thank you so much, and we trust that the information that has been disseminated today would, reach the people out there that need it, those who are really experiencing domestic violence, and we just trust that they're going to reach out for help, as you all have asked. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The family is the bedrock of our society. The family must at all times be provided with the support that is necessary to achieve its true potential. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, through its National Family Services Division, in commemoration of International Family Day 2022 and Family Month, presents its Family Time, Let's Talk, a radio program which focuses on the family and the issues relating to building healthy, functional families. Join us as we take a deeper look into emerging issues such as family violence, domestic violence, trauma, stress, and many more. Every Monday from 11:15 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. on 98.1 FM. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives.